this video I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of streaming with the Canon M50. My name is Trui and I make streamer support videos. Stream smarter, not harder. Before I begin, I stream every Tuesday and Friday, 8 PM Central European Time on twitch.tv/Trui. Feel free to hop in and ask anything about streaming. The camera I'm recording this with is the Canon M50, right, this one. Canon M50. The Canon M50 you can buy with a kit lens, and the kit lens is pretty decent. But I do have to say that there's better lenses for it. The one I'm using right now on the camera is a 20mm pancake lens. It's a really good lens because it can go all the way back to f2, which means that it can let in a lot of light and become really crisp. I also have this lens, which is the 11x22. I really like it for wide shots with the 11mm, but it lets a lot less light in and therefore you will see that it's less sharp than this one. This camera looks so much better than using the C920 as a webcam. You might use a different webcam, but a lot of people are using the C920, so that's why I'm saying the C920. I started using this camera a while back, and you might have noticed that I grabbed a lot of them. I have 3 body frames of the Canon M50. And no, I didn't get any of this sponsored. This one I actually got a couple years ago, but I had problems with the chip in it. It's coming from the American Amazon and therefore I couldn't send it back because it didn't fall under the warranty of Europe. This means that I just have this broken body that I can't use, so I use it as decoration, I guess. It sort of works, but if you film, sometimes get green and just cuts the footage and the footage will be totally gone. If you're streaming, sometimes it just becomes one green screen and not in a good way. Like, you literally look like Shrek then, which is not good. So that's a problem I had at first. So I bought a new one. I bought this one and this one, but never happened on either one of those two. So it only happens on the default one. So I think it might have been a bug and it's not actually something that happens with the Canon M50. If I wasn't really convinced of that, I wouldn't have bought 2 new bodies. That would be absurd. I really like it for streaming, but when you stream with a Canon M50, you gotta have to keep some things in mind. So one thing you can do is just connect it to your USB port. This way you can use the Canon EOS webcam utility app to actually use it as a webcam. It won't be 1080p though, and it won't have 60 FPS. So it would be, it would be decent quality, especially if you compare it to a webcam, but it won't be the full quality that your camera can actually do. This is the cheapest option though, because you only have to buy a cable that goes from your camera to your USB port. The second option you can do is using an Elgato Camlink. You can also use other capture cards, but a Camlink is really small, so that would make the most sense. I will leave a link to all the things necessary underneath in the description. So this Camlink costs a lot more than just a cable, obviously. And you also need a cable from the Camlink to your actual camera to make it work. Normally, just having your Camlink hooked up to a camera works perfectly, but for the Canon M50, for some reason it falls off every 20 minutes, and you actually want to connect it to your USB as well. It doesn't have to be USB 3.0, as you just have to have it connected so it knows that you're working with your camera. If you want to use this method, you need to make sure to install Canon EOS utility app. This makes sure that your camera and your computer stay connected the whole time. Then the last problem you have with using a camera as a webcam instead of just a webcam is the power supply. You use a battery, then you have to change out the battery every now and then. Usually for the Canon M50, I think it's around 2 hours that one battery lasts, but if you stream for hours, then you gotta have to change it out and load up the other battery when you go. A good way around this is this fake dummy battery adapter. I will leave a link underneath in the description for people that have a Europe plug and an American plug. I don't know if I can find one for the British, but I will do my best. If I found one, it's underneath in the description. So you put your dummy battery in and make sure that's in the power socket. You make sure that both the HDMI and the USB are in your camera. The HDMI one needs to be in your Camlink and then in your USB port. The other one just needs to go in the USB port. If you only use the webcam ability, just put in the USB one. That's the only thing you need. Then if you want to add them in OBS, what you do, click on the plus and add video capture device. Okay, and then here you could see add Camlink. You click on Camlink, you're just adding the Camlink. If you use the one cable method with the webcam utility, it will just say webcam utility and you can click on that. The webcam utility won't be 1080p, so keep that in mind. You have to stretch it out a little bit if you want it full screen. This shouldn't be too much of a problem, as you probably stream in 720p. At least I recommend streaming in 720p if you're not a Twitch partner. It's just because people don't watch you full screen because they have the chat next to you and everything. It's usually just in 720p anyway. What I think of the camera itself, it's a really great camera. I also make pictures with it and everything like that. I love using both of them at the same time for different angles and stuff like that. I'm just really happy with it. The only thing that's really annoying is just that you have to set up so many cables and sometimes it doesn't connect properly. If it doesn't connect properly, you gotta have to get all the cables out, then start up the camera, put in the USB one first, wait until the program starts, put in the HDMI one, then start OBS, and that could be a little bit confusing and annoying, but I feel like it's not the only camera that you would have to do some things like that with. Then another big plus from this camera, it's a mirrorless camera and not a DSLR camera. Difference is that this one doesn't have an actual mirror inside, which means that if you record for a long period of time, it can't actually burn into the lens. You can't damage your lens with streaming hours and hours, where that could be a thing if you use a DSLR camera. If you guys have more questions about the Canon M50, I'd love to answer them in the comments, because I'm using this thing for quite a while right now and I'm kind of happy with it. Do you want to know what else I use for streaming? I do have a video about what gear I use right here, and I'd love to see you there. I will explain my lights and everything like that. See you there.